Welcome to the ToniCooperCast. Experience stories, life lessons, and teaching moments. Join us as we inspire you to be your authentic self. Welcome back to the ToniCooperCast, the place where we're going to tell stories and life lessons from a leadership perspective, a parent perspective, and every other area of our lives. I want to take you to a dream in your life. You guys have goals, you have dreams, you have things that you want to accomplish, right? Think about the goal that you really, really want. That thing that, maybe you got to save some money for it. Maybe you got to learn some lessons. I don't know what it is, but just think about that thing you really, really want. Are you thinking about it? You got it in your head? Now pretend that goal is a reality, that you can accomplish it. How are you going to do it? That's today's story. How are we going to accomplish those things that we want to do? Well, let's talk about what really happens. Let's use a really, really simple yet very difficult goal to accomplish. Let's say you had a goal and you wanted to lose 50 pounds. This is what generally happens. Today, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to eat right. And for a week, you're on board, you exercise, you eat right, everything's going well. And then you, fall off the wagon, I guess, right? You stop doing it, or you just, I'm just going to have this one thing I'm not supposed to, or I'm just not going to go to the gym today, or whatever it is. And then that whole goal you were going for, you stop again, you stop again, you stop again. We've all been there, right? So imagine it a different way. Let's pretend. You have always wanted to visit, let's think of a building. How about the Empire State Building? Can we go with that one? Let's just pretend. You've always wanted to visit the Empire State Building. And let's imagine that when you get to the top of the Empire State Building, the view is amazing. It's that view that you just takes your breath away. It's a view of accomplishing a goal. You know that time where you accomplish that thing that you worked so hard for, that feeling that you've gotten? Let's pretend that that's what's at the top of this building. That goal, that thing, that one thing you always wanted. So you saved your money to go there. You've been waiting a long time. You got your money, you went there, you arrive at the Empire State Building, and the security guard looks at you. And he says, "Sorry, the elevator is broken. It won't be fixed for at least a week." What are you going to do? You don't have a week. He says, "You're welcome to take the stairs." You look all the way up. That's going to be tough. Well, you got a friend with you. They said, well, let's try it. So now here's what I want you to do with me. If you are listening from your home or sitting down, I want you to stand up right now. And I want you to do this with me, and let's feel it. We're going to go through a little exercise. So you decide you're going to take the stairs, and you start walking up the stairs. And the first flight, hey, shoot, it's no big deal. I mean, you can do this. You got energy. You're excited. You've been wanting to do this for a long time. Second flight, no big deal. You're walking. Life's good. You're still going up the steps. Woohoo! Third flight, you're doing well. Fifth flight, sixth flight, eighth flight, 10th flight. You're probably getting a little tired. You're worn out, right? You're still climbing. You get to the 20th flight of stairs. And you've gone quite a distance, but you're beat. You're tired. You're sweating. You drink water. You're like, you know what? Let's just sit down. Let's take a break. So you sit down. Now here's the question to ask yourself. You have at least 80 more flights to go. Are you going to stop here and walk back down? Or are you going to keep going up? Well, you decide, get back up, you're going to walk. So you go 22 flights, 24, 26, you're at 30 flights. You keep on going, and now you're halfway. Let's pretend this building has 100 flights of steps. And you're halfway at 50. And when you get to the 50 flight, you're still worn out. You're breathing heavy, not sure if you're going to make it. Your friend looks at you and says, we got this. But here's the question. How many of you are going to stop here? Say, I'm done, I can't do it. We'll come back in a few weeks. We'll come back in a month. We'll come back in a year. We'll come back when the elevator's fixed. Let's just go back down. We'll come back. We'll get to it later. Your friend looks at you and like, man, we've gone this far. Let's go. All right. Your friend pumps you up. You start climbing again. And you're going up the steps. You're going up the steps. And now you're at flight 60. Now you're at 65. Now you're at 70. Now you're at 75. You're 3/4 of the way to the top of this building. Now here's where it gets tough. Because it's probably been a few hours. You didn't get up there in 10 minutes. Trust me. It's probably been a few hours. You're sweating. You're disgusting, probably. You've got water's gone because you certainly didn't pack for enough water to get up there. Your friend looks completely and utterly drained. You look at each other like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this. And so you sit at the step and just rest. So here's the question to ask you. You spent hours and hours climbing up these steps. They weren't easy. They were rough. They were tough. There's no windows. You can't really see the end. How many of you at this point, flight 75, 3/4 of the way, would say forget it and go back down? Would that be you? Well, today it's not. So today you climb again. And you're going. And now you're at flight number 90. Can you imagine? You only got 10 more flights. Now you can see the end. You can see that there's only 10 more flights. You can see almost the door that's going to take you out to the top of that building. So you're climbing and you get 5 flights and suddenly this burst of energy comes over you and you start running up those steps. Run, 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 run. And there you are. There's the door. There's one more flight to go. How many of you would say, I've made it 99 flights. I'm done. I give up. Let's go back down. You're not going to give up. You only got 1 flight to go. So you go up that flight, you go through the door, and you feel the exhilaration of victory. You can see the view from the top of this building. That view like you have accomplished a goal you have always wanted. That amazing feeling you just can't believe it. Have you ever been there? I know I have. I know you have. Taking the stairs is just like life. All too often, I have leaders come to me, I have kids come to me, and others that say, I want to do this. And then we sit down and we go, all right, here's what you've got to do. And the first thing they say is just too hard. So they don't even get to the first step. They hear the elevator is broken. They don't even take the steps. They give up and say, I'll come back to it in a month. I'll come back to it in a week. But guess what happens? They never come back. Then you have the individuals. We've all been there, right? I want to lose 50 pounds. Phenomenal. Go for it. Here's a plan. You've developed a whole thing. You get going. You're moving. You're doing everything you need to do. You're like 10 flights up. You're through 15 steps, 20 steps, whoever knows. And you get halfway there, and it gets hard. So we give up. We go all the way back down the steps. See, goal setting in life is just like this. There is no elevator. Zig Ziglar used to say that. There's no elevator to the top. You got to take the steps. It's not easy. You can't just whoop right there. There isn't any elevator to success. Life in general is about taking the steps, about roughing it, toughing it, getting sweaty, taking a break, but still knowing you can do it. But the key is they also had a friend bringing them along. They surrounded themselves with people that are going to encourage them and bring them up. This is what it's like to accomplish goals. So many of us just don't know how to do it. We have a whole program on goal setting, but I'm going to give you the basic steps right now. Okay? So when you want to accomplish a goal, whether it's a goal for your family, whether it's a goal for your health, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a career goal, whether it's a leadership goal, a business goal, whatever it is, you need to have a plan, right? You need to have a plan. You need to decide what are the steps you're going to take, what's going to happen when we reach the obstacle and we're exhausted, sweaty, disgusting, and we don't want to do it anymore. What are we going to do? So how do we accomplish the goals? Are you ready? Step 1 is to figure out what the steps are. You know, I always tell individuals, they'll come to me, and I actually had an individual once, excuse me. I had an individual once that came to me, and we'll call him Jim. And Jim said to me, he says, Toni, he says, I have a goal. He worked in the call center of a company, and he wanted to, we have to cut for a second. I have to cough. Okay? I can start from right there, though. Okay. So I had an individual come to me once, and his name was Jim. That's what we're going to call him. And Jim worked in a call center of a very large corporation that I've worked with out of Georgia. And Jim came to me and he said, he goes, my goal is I want to be the manager of the call center. We're not talking about a small call center. They had 1,500 employees in this call center. It was huge. Okay? They had 3 shifts. And when Jim came to me, he says, I want to be the manager. He says, I don't have a clue how to do it because I don't have a college education. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. Told me everything he doesn't have. And I looked at him and I said, well, Jim, what is it that you do have? What is it you do have? I said, because we got to work with what we have, right? The only way we're going to go through the steps is to take what we have and build on it. So he went through and he says, well, I have experience with communication. He goes, I've dealt with every type of customer. That's my favorite thing about working in help desk and call centers is that you've literally met the worst of the worst and the best of the best in people. So if you're good at it, you're a great communicator. So he says, I'm a great communicator. He says, I've been working here for quite a few years. I've had some terrible people. I've had some great people. All right, fantastic. Let's write that down. So we sat down and we wrote down all the things that he had. I said, okay, now what is it? What is the things that you need? Not what you don't have, but what is it you need? Well, he needed to learn some leadership skills. He needed to learn how to communicate with employees, not just these customers, like to help employees grow and things like that. So he needed leadership and communication skills. And then he needed about 16 other things or so. I'm making up the number 16, but he needed a few other things. Okay? And this is what we did with the goals. What he wanted to do is he wanted to take one leadership class and apply for the position. So he wanted to take the fast track, take the elevator, go up and be at the top just like that. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Now, maybe it does for some, but realistically, it just doesn't. So what do we do? Sat down, first step, wrote down the steps. What does each flight look like? What does each accomplishment look like? Let's write down the steps. All right, now, what are the obstacles that are going to stop you from getting to the next step? That's the same thing as us climbing the stairs and saying the obstacle is running out of water, being exhausted, being sweaty, legs hurting, body burning. What are the things? What are those obstacles? What are the things that are going to get in your way that are going to stop you? Those things that are going to say, that's the ice cream, so I can't lose weight because I want to eat the ice cream. Or that's this. What is it? And then let's make a plan for when that obstacle comes, what's the step to pass through that obstacle? What is it we're going to do? So one of the biggest obstacles he had was financial. How is he going to afford to take training or to learn these different things? All right, we already know financial is an obstacle. So what are you going to do? So even before he could take this steps to become a leader, he needed to get his financials in order. So he created some steps to get his financials in order. Once that was accomplished, now we keep going to this one. What's another obstacle that could potentially happen? So you go through each of the things, each of the roadblocks that are going to stop you from achieving your goal. And you set goals to go around, go through, go over, whatever it takes to get through it. Because you know they're going to happen. And I can tell you that when you do that, that's one of the greatest ways to achieve a goal. People don't talk about that. They talk about, create the steps. What are you going to do? What skills do you need to know? Who do you need to know? Who can help you? Those are all great. But if you can plan for the roadblocks and then have the steps to go over, around, or through whatever you need to do, you'd be amazed how much closer you'll get to your goal. Because when you know they're coming, when you know that temptation is there, and you have a plan, it's much easier to overcome that temptation. So let's go back to the weight loss one that a lot of people have, right? Or they want to exercise. That's me. I'd like to start exercising more regularly. And I make excuses all the time, just so you know. I'm tired. I got kids, I got this, I got that, whatever it is. So instead of making the excuses, I'll say, well, one of the biggest roadblocks is exhaustion. I'm just flat out tired. Okay? Well, guess what? When I'm tired, here's what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Maybe it's going to be call a friend, say, hey, I know it's my workout day, I'm tired, and that's going to be my pump it up friend. That's what we'll call it. Maybe it's going to be pump it up music. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be just go anyway and go to the gym, and even if you don't work out, you at least go into the gym. Maybe that's what it is. Whatever the obstacle is, make a plan for it so when it comes, it doesn't veer you off and you end up walking all the way back down those steps that you went up. And you just have to start completely over. Nobody wants to go all the way back down. All right, the next big, most important step in goal setting. You have the steps. You know what the roadblocks are. You know you may run out of water. You know you may get tired. What are those roadblocks? And you have created a plan to overcome them. The next big one that everybody should do is celebrate the victories. All of you that know me know that that's one of my favorite things, is celebrate the victories. So I'm going to tell you a story. I don't even know if he'll ever even remember this story, but I have an amazing mentor. His name's Brian Flanagan, and I'm going to tell you the story of Brian. Brian used to work with the Zig Ziglar Corporation as a trainer, and I met him in I think it was 1996. Don't quote me, it could have been 95, but let's say 1996 for now. And I went to him and I was telling him what I want to do and what I want to accomplish. And he sat down and we kind of went through it. And he had me attend one of his presentation skills classes. And at the time, I think I was around 18 or so, maybe 19. And I'm only 5 feet tall, so I'm in his class. I look like I'm 12. And I go into his class and he's got this little girl, I guess you can say, teaching presentation skills with all these leaders there. And the thing that he told me, I went and did my first presentation in front of this group, and I was extremely nervous. And it came out all wrong. I don't know what I said, but I can tell you it was wrong. My arms were doing this. My body was shaking. My mouth, I don't have a clue what I did or what I said. And I've presented before, but, it's Brian Flanagan, and there's all these people. What am I going to do? And he came to me during lunch, and he says, Toni, he says, you've been here before, haven't you? I said, yeah. He goes, you've spoken to people before, haven't you? I said, yeah, I used to be a figure skating instructor, and at the time I still was teaching. I said, yeah, I teach figure skating. I work with kids all the time. And he says, tell me all the great things that you have done in regards to presenting. And I was telling him, I'll have to call him and see if he remembers this. And then he had me write it down. And he says, this is your victory list. Keep it with you, hold on to it, and add to it throughout your life. Funny thing is I still have that victory list. I have a new one now. It's a little card that's laminated of my greatest victories. But I can tell you that celebrating the victories is the greatest thing. When you are down and you are halfway through your goal and you feel like giving up, if you can go back to that sheet and read the victories, read those things that you have accomplished, you'd be amazing what it feels like. You can go through and go, I've done this, I've done this. It's not selfish. It's not egotistical. It's celebrating you. If you can't celebrate you, no one else is going to do it for you. It's celebrating you. It's giving you that confidence that I can get through this roadblock, this point that I just don't think I can. Because I'm going to tell you, in every real goal, what I mean by real goal is that thing that you really, really want. There are going to be times where you're just going to feel like walking all the way back down the steps. That victory list is the most amazing thing. Now I'm going to take it further. For those of you in leadership, maybe you don't have a gigantic goal. Maybe you don't have this big 100-step path. Maybe you just have one little thing. Maybe you guys went through COVID, and I know a lot of companies I've worked with, you had COVID, suddenly these employees who had a nice family culture environment, now they're all working from home, they're not seeing each other, they're worn out because life is different working from home, and you just need to pump people up. So here's what I tell leaders. Have a victory meeting. So every week, once a week, have a victory meeting. It doesn't take long. I do this. I love it. I think it's great. I've done it with other companies. And here's what you do. You get on the phone if everybody's virtual. You get on the phone if everybody's in the office. You bring everybody together in one room. Doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 100 people. I have never seen this ever take longer than 30 minutes. I've seen 150 people do it, and it still took 28 minutes. I always remember because I timed it. Here's what happens. You go around the room, or if you're all virtual, you go over on the video calls, and everybody tells you one personal or professional victory they have experienced over the past week. Don't need details. Don't need a lot of information. Just give me a victory you've experienced. I went to the gym. Wonderful. Woohoo. Yeah. I celebrated this. Woohoo. We turned in this project. Woohoo. Simple, excited. It takes everybody less than, 15, 20 seconds to tell their personal or professional victory. And then you celebrate it. Boy, does it start the week, the day, whatever it is you do, off wonderful. I know some companies do it every Monday. And when they forget about having it, I actually had a CEO come to me once and he said, I actually forgot to have the victory meeting, and all the employees were calling me and said, what happened to our victory meeting? So he ended up having to have it Tuesday. So it just starts the week off well. Well, it's the same for you. When you're trying to accomplish a goal and you're trying to reach the top, or you're trying to reach even the second flight or the third flight or the fourth flight of that goal, when you feel like you just can't do it, sometimes the greatest thing you can do is go back to the victories. When you are in business and you're having tough trying to make decisions, go back to the past. Look at the victories. What have you accomplished? Where are you at? You want to be your authentic self. To truly be authentic is to celebrate you. To truly be authentic is to celebrate you. So in life, there isn't any elevator. Even when it looks like via social media or whatever, these people are taking this fast track, or it looks like they won the lottery of, goal setting and they are just on their way. Understand there was a lot that it took to get there. I've quit many times in my life, not really, just mentally said I'm done. I've went many times where I've started walking up the steps and said I can't do this and walked back down. But I can tell you, when you set a plan, set the goals, look at the roadblocks and say, this is what we're going to go through to get there, and then celebrate the victories along the way, you'd be amazed what you can accomplish. I want you to be authentic. And an authentic leader, an authentic individual, is someone who is willing to say, yes, I did this. I accomplished this. I get to celebrate me. And then look at everybody else and say, we did this together. If it's a team, we can celebrate each other. Okay? Victories are amazing. Remember, in life, there is no elevator, as Zig Ziglar once said. In life, we must take the stairs. But boy, when you get the top, the victory, the accomplishment, and the view are amazing. Thank you for joining the Toni Cooper Cast. I'm excited to bring more people into our cast, talk more about stories and inspiration for leaders, for family, and for more. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Tune in next week for more inspirational stories. And always, remember, keep on smiling.